Okay, so we're learning how to do pseudo elements. So like I just said, we can add a little bit of HTML before the content of an element or after the content of an element. So the first one is h1 dot colon before. So it's going to add, we can add something before the why is it so hot. So I'm going to add, we need to use this property called content. And I'm going to say hello. And it adds the word hello in there. Now it's really important. You always have to have the word, the property of content, even if you don't have any text, you're using it to put in a graphical element. You have to use, you have to have content in there, and you know, if you don't have any text in there, then you just leave it blank, but you have to have the quotation marks. That's a really, really common mistake is you forget to put the line content. And then I can do whatever I want to this. I can say, as you can see right now, it's in it's a inline element. It's an inline pseudo element, I should say. So I can say display block color white background red. So as you can see, I can start to use this, to create different graphic elements. I could have, take out the word hello, and I would just have a bar up there. I can create a whole new background for the element. And the same thing goes for after. So I'm going to copy this, paste this down here, and I'm going to change before to after. I should change this to goodbye. And oh, I spelled after wrong. After. So after adds. Now what's important to remember is it's not actually putting the content before the H1, it's putting it before the content of H1. So that pseudo element is actually inside the H1 tag. So if we went into, I can show you what it looks like in the here. So now we can see we've got an H1, we've got an H1 tag right here up in the HTML. And now there's these things in there, this before and this after, that actually don't exist in the HTML file that's being requested, but it's being generated by the CSS. And it's all inside of H1. So let me show you some really cool things you can do with this. Okay, so like I said, it doesn't have to be text. I could actually put a background image in there. So let's say, but I have to have, oops, I have to have that content property. So let's say I want a background image. First, it's got to have a width and a height, because like we just learned, background images don't actually have a height to them. So I'm going to say width 180 pixels, height pixels. So it's there, just doesn't have anything in it. I'm going to grab a photo. Photos. Let's grab this dog. Copy his background small. And then I'm going to add background image. So it added the image in there. So this could be an illustration, if you want to place an illustration on there. It could be a photograph. It could be anything. And I can use all the properties of background images. So background dash size, 100%. I could bring the dog up. And then now what's even more fun now is I can do this. I can say position. I'm going to say relative, so it doesn't, pop outside of the document flow. And then I can say, I can place it anywhere. I could place it in front. I could say top 80 pixels. That brings it down. I want to go to the left, so I'm going to say left, -80 pixels. You can move it over there, put it there. You may have noticed that it covered up, let's say 60, it covered up the text there because that's what positioning properties usually do. So I can use the Z index to make it go to the back. Remember with Z index, the smaller number sends it to the back, the larger number brings it forward. So I'm going to say dot -1, and then it goes to the back. And then I could, for the, let's see, for after, what should we do? Let's say we're going to change the color to light blue. We're going to give it a height of 60, 100 pixels. And then we're going to position. You could do absolute on this, no problem. You just have to remember to give the container you want it to be in position relative. Relative, position relative, top -70 pixels. Right, -50 pixels. So you can do whatever you want with this. I don't know what I'm doing here. Z index -1. So anyway, I'm just creating like this funky layout. I can, depending on, if I give it position absolute, depending on the container that has the positioning property, I can place it like wherever I want it. So, so you can use these to put extra elements. It doesn't even have to be anywhere near the element that you're putting it on. It could be, over on another side of the page. And actually, yeah, you can add it anywhere. So just remember, it has to say, it's not there, it won't show up. And like I said, that's like the main error that everyone makes. Like, why is my learning didn't have content in there? So for this little exercise I'm giving you, I'm going to have you recreate a screenshot. And what I want you to do is create a style, like say you're doing an art, you're doing styles for, a news site or magazine or something. You want to create a standard looking full quote, what full quote is when you pull something else and feature it. And you want to make it so that no one has to put any special code in the HTML. All they have to do is make it a block quote element, and it automatically puts these fancy curly quotes in there. So So I'm starting you off with just the text on there. And then you're gonna add in the curly coats. And the trick to this one is that you can't actually add, you know how we have special characters for the curly coats? For some reason, you can't add special characters into the content. But I looked up the secret keyboard shortcut for making curly brackets, and it's Alt or Option. Alt if you're on a PC, Option if you're on a Mac, plus the square bracket, the left square bracket, and then the closing one is, you know, Alt Shift square bracket. Just play with those, and you'll get the right one. So that's what you're going to put inside of the content, and then you're going to use positioning property to, you know, move it over and down and over and up. You have to use the index to get it to go to the back. So, so yeah, this is a real world situation.
At least for Windows, that one always works. Sometimes you have to use the actual alt code, just alt 4.5. Sometimes it won't.
How is it?
Sometimes the alt bracket doesn't work for Windows, it depends on the keyboard setup.
Oh yeah.
You have to use an alt code, which you can alt 4.5, 4.6.
So if you're on a PC
I
and
can just show.
your keyboard shortcut isn't working, talk to Paul. He knows how to deal with that.
So the pseudo elements are part of the action elements, so passing a pseudo element, passing the entire thing.
Wait, what?
Sorry, the pseudo elements are considered part of the same element. So by using opacity, it will change the entire thing.
Oh, I don't think so. No, that's not the other properties that you have the content of the element. So,
Oh yeah. I should just know that.
yeah.
But sometimes it does act like it's all the same element. So I tried to do I tried to do display none and then replace it, like replace text, and it was like, no, I'm not showing any of that. So I did before and then like text and then display none for the actual element and just display set it in.
Oh.
Makes sense, I guess.
I guess there are certain limitations on this. It is kind of a funky.
You can also just
thing.
display none just to make the content for whatever element is above it. There's ways to do it.
Yeah.
Like for my Vanguard map, I kind of want to place some. What about that?
Oh, yeah, that was it. Yeah, that one is. Yeah, that's good. But I was thinking like, kind of like the.